Okay, hi, it's me again, Dale Knepper, and we're coming to you talking about this time the check for understanding. This is a buzzword in education, and typically it means, well, all you got to do is stop your class if you're a teacher and just ask the kids, do you understand? They raise their hand, or they give you the thumbs up, this sort of thing. That's a simple way of using a check for understanding. But in the course we're using here, a check for understanding is much more than that. The check for understanding is a process, it's an exercise that explains the way of thinking that we're going to use. The way of thinking demonstrates the principle and that we're talking about, and the check for understanding is first introduced by a story. In the course we talk about a story about Jill and her dad and her bicycle, because Dad's going to help Jill learn how to ride her two-wheel bike. And I'll save that story, because it's a really good one, for the course. However, the idea is that you can understand that Jill learning, or anyone learning to ride their two-wheel bicycle, is enabling someone to do something they were not capable of doing before. So now they're free to do it. Now they can ride their two-wheel bicycle. Or if it were another case, maybe so now someone knows how to do a football play and maybe earn playing time for their coach. Or maybe now someone has learned how to do a particular piece of music and they can perform it for an audience. Something they couldn't do before. Expresses the freedom to be able. Now, the freedom to be able is very different from the freedom from interference, which is usually what we think of when we think of freedom. But once in the chapter we introduce the story of Jill, her dad, and the bicycle. Then we take the fundamental principle, which is the freedom to be able, and we turn it into an objective. And so we might turn it into, we start using a process called a check for understanding, and we take the theme and we turn it into an objective that we're going to teach kids to learn. And they're going to be able to do something by the time they're done with this check for understanding exercise. This check for understanding exercise, when you see it in the coursework, you'll see that we use something called Cornell notes. We write the objective above, and then we draw a line, and then we have a vertical line under that. And then on one side we have terms, that is the basic ideas, main ideas, on one side, and then on the other side we're going to ask kids open-ended questions or give examples of the terms and ask them to analyze. Now that is a higher level thinking skill, because what you're doing is you're taking an idea that was introduced in the story and now you're breaking the story down into parts and you're beginning to examine the story in parts in such a way it's going to lead to a conclusion. When you get done with analyzing things, you draw another line across this way and you say closure down here, which is going to be your summary. And then on the other side of that, you're going to have statements or questions, whichever you'd rather use, that are going to evaluate or synthesize what the analysis was. Was this a good idea? Was this a bad idea? What was the whole idea? And then you're going to have a creative next step. How could I do something new with what I just learned? And that is the process of the example of the check for understanding. And the idea of the freedom to be able lends itself very well to that kind of process. You see? Now what have we done here? What we have just done is higher level thinking skills. We have used them for kids to be able to evaluate whether or not the freedom to be able is a good idea or not. And then we've had them evaluate that and then create a new step. What would you like to learn next? You see what I'm saying? That is a very simple process, but by doing that, we've done a lot.